What's up guys, in this video we will be taking you to the Angkor Wat Archaeological Park, one of Cambodia's UNESCO World Heritage Sites and the largest religious monument in the world. We will visit the surrounding temples too, which are completely mind-blowing, and we will also show you everything you need to know before you go. If that sounds good to you, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video and hit that notification bell. Let's dive in. We're going in now. This should be good. It's currently 4:37 and we are on our way to Angkor Wat. There's not a sinner on the streets here at the moment. You would expect that, I suppose, at this time. So we got a 3-day ticket for $62 per person and a fantastic tuk-tuk driver to bring us around the 162-hectare site, which was easily worth it. Even for this view alone. I'm so excited because we are visiting Angkor Wat here in Cambodia. They were actually given terrible weather this week, but they've got it completely wrong, so it looks like we're going to be in for a great day exploring here. So we haven't gone with a guide today, we're just basically on our own. We're going to explore Angkor Wat and its surroundings by ourselves. We have a little audio guide on the phone that we may use later on, so that may come in handy, but yeah, we're enjoying it so far. It was an amazing sunrise. This place is really amazing because Angkor Wat is a masterpiece of humankind. It's renowned for its unique architecture and intricate artwork. The term Angkor Wat is a combination of two words, Angkor meaning capital and Wat, which means temple or pagoda. The construction of Angkor Wat took place over a 28-year period from 1122 to 1850 Common Era, during the reign of King Suryavarman II. It covers a range of 1300 metres to 1500 metres. It is formed by a central mass structure of quincunx towers, concentric galleries, and is connected with a long causeway to the outer enclosure with a surrounding moat. All the original religious motifs at Angkor Wat derive from Hinduism, breaking from the Shaiva tradition of previous kings. Angkor Wat was instead dedicated to Vishnu, and it was built as the king's state temple and capital city. But before we go any further, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so you'll be notified once any other videos are uploaded. Thanks a million guys, now let's get into it. So currently it's 6:44 AM and already, I'm telling you, it's really hot. You can obviously see from me I'm covered in sweat already, and we're only beginning our day here. This was originally constructed as a Hindu temple, and as mentioned before, Angkor Wat is dedicated to the god Vishnu from the Khmer Empire by King Suryavarman II during the 12th century. It was gradually transformed into a Buddhist temple towards the end of the century, and as such it is also described as a Hindu Buddhist temple. In 1177, approximately 27 years after the death of Suryavarman II, Angkor was sacked by the Chams, who were traditional enemies of the Khmer people. After this, the empire was restored by a new king, Jayavarman VII, who established a new capital and state temple, Angkor Thom and the Bayon, which we will visit later. This was a few more kilometers north, which was dedicated to Buddhism, because the king believed that the Hindu gods had failed him. Angkor Wat was therefore also gradually converted into a Buddhist site, and many Hindu sculptures were replaced by Buddhist art. The artistic legacy of Angkor Wat and other Khmer monuments in the Angkor region led directly to France adopting Cambodia as a protectorate on the 11th of August 1863 and invading Siam to take control of the ruins. This quickly led to Cambodia reclaiming lands in the northwestern corner of the country, such as the areas of Siem Reap, Baton and Sisophon, which were under Siamese rule from 1795 to 1907. The construction of Angkor Wat suggests that there was a celestial significance with certain features of the temple. This is observed in the temple's east-west orientation and lines of sight from terraces within the temple that show specific towers to be at the precise location of the solstice at sunrise. The temple is a representation of Mount Meru, the home of the gods according to Hindu mythology. The central quincunx of the towers symbolises 5 peaks of the mountain, and the walls and the moat symbolise the surrounding mountain ranges and ocean. I have to say, this place is absolutely mind-blowing. Very interestingly as well, the jungle around here was cleared all around to make rice fields to sustain the population that was here. It was thought to be about 1 million people at its peak, and there was also plenty of canals created to sustain, obviously, with the water as well. There was a metropolis in this region which was thought to be the same size as London today. It definitely reminds me of Tomb Raider, growing up playing the games. This is obviously in this area where one of the movies was set as well. To look up, and you can see the detail right up at the very top around the entrances where you can go in at certain areas here. And just to know that it's over like 900 years old, it's absolutely mind-blowing. The attention to detail and the sheer scale, it's hard to comprehend really. The steps here as well are extremely kind of narrow and steep, so you really have to watch your step as you're going up each time to avoid any injuries. So we were in the Angkor Museum yesterday in Siem Reap. It was fantastic, and it really gave us kind of a good grounding in the history here as well. You can see through each door all the apsaras, which were the dancing women, and they're pretty much all scattered around the doors here at the entrance as you walk through. I definitely recommend that museum, by the way.
In Hindu religion, water milk is going to be churning up.
So we're just after walking through now into the main yard, I suppose you could call it. And first impression is absolutely gargantuan, is how I would describe it. Yeah, you see the 5 lotus pillars shooting up into the sky. I believe the center one is where Suryavarman was meant to be buried, or wanted to be buried, I believe. But just the detail here, while I said before, it is true that it's kind of disintegrating a little bit, as you would expect. Something 900 years old is obviously a long time, but they did spend a good bit, I think in the 19th century, putting parts back together. But it's unbelievable. You can probably see behind me there as well, there's a little bit of construction going on. I believe they're constantly updating and upgrading the structures here with maintenance. Yeah, so I don't know, you can probably see what I'm talking about when I say the stairs are kind of very, very steep, and it is very tricky to go up them. We went up a smaller one there a little bit earlier, nothing as big as that. Okay, you might think this is a little bit weird, but something I like to do with such a historically significant place is I really like to touch it and get a feel and think that what I'm touching now was created over 900 years ago, which is exactly what this place is. And yeah, to be here is, again, like I said many times in this trip, we're just ticking off places on this bucket list one after another, and this is what it's all about. Anyway, up we go now. Can't imagine what it was like when they had to build this in the summer months, when you're talking like 38, 39 degrees. Thousands of people had to construct this. Suryavarman, he really got most of the credit for it. Maybe rightly so, maybe not, but it's some structure. Something that's very interesting is if you look at the map, you have the moat, like the furthest outer layer, which is a layer of protection, and then there's 4 more additional layers which have an incline the closer you go into the center here, which you can imagine it must have been a great place to have your capital and palace. To be honest, I can't believe the number of people that are here. I thought we were going to be absolutely swamped, like when we were in the Grand Palace in Bangkok, and you could barely move with the amount of people. But luckily, I don't know if it's time of the year as well plays a part, but there's barely anyone here. It's great for us. So from the ground level here up to the very top of the lotus is about 60 meters. So we're not going to be going up that high, but there is a nice little viewpoint a little bit below that. So let's check it out. That was absolutely strenuous. The legs, the angle of the stairs, I don't know if I've ever went up something as steep as that and as difficult. It wasn't that far up, but the legs just were burning. But thankfully we're up here now, so we can see what this place is like and enjoy the views. So finally we're after arriving at the center lotus, or the center pinnacle of Angkor Wat, and this is where I believe Suryavarman would have wanted to be buried, or had been buried. I have to say, this is unbelievable. It is literally like being transported back in time when the Khmer Empire was at its peak 800 or 900 years ago here, and I just can't get over this. I can't believe how much detail and how much time must have gone in to create this structure. I believe as well there was golden around each lotus on the top, a gold sort of material, plenty of decoration, plenty of art. There's definitely a sense of calm up here. We even saw one guy on his knees praying. Very peaceful, very calm, and I couldn't imagine a better place to do it. Making your way all the way into the centre here, in the ancient capital of the Khmer Empire. Sounds good to me. The central tower here behind me was called Bakan, and it probably would have housed a Vishnu back in the day, and it would have been the centre point for the pilgrimage here for Buddhism. So yeah, the views here are pretty spectacular. You can see pretty much all the way back to the very first entrance where we came in. So it's quite a big complex here, and this is only a tiny part of the whole Angkor Wat city area. It's so big, and I can't wait to explore more. I have to say, it's only when you come to these places you realise how big the world is and how the different civilizations go back so long and they're so sophisticated. So on the other side of the Bakan you have a reclining Buddha, pretty much in here behind me. And yeah, it is a Hindu Buddhist temple. Now the fun part begins, where we have to go down. So I don't know if those steps are actually designed like that to simply make it difficult for people to get up to the very top, or possibly they were built a little bit differently with some add-ons that have over time just since disappeared. But coming up and down there, it was absolutely so difficult. So the roof above us is very interesting as well. It looks like there's just huge boulders and blocks that are kind of balanced on top of each other just to keep the roof up just enough, but at any second it looks like it could come just tumbling right down on our heads here. I think these boys are lacking a few harnesses up there. We're just after coming across what looks like some sort of a pool or a bath, maybe a storage facility for water, which actually played part of the downfall of this civilization here. It's quite deep, it's probably a couple of meters deep, and you can imagine in the wet season it's just going to fill up here as a big reservoir where they can dip into whenever they need. There's like 3 or 4 of these reservoirs around this little area. We haven't come across it just yet. We're actually trying to find the exit, and we just came this way. Wow, I cannot believe that. Angkor Wat, what a place to come and visit. I would highly recommend to come in here. 10 out of 10 from me, and it has everything: architecture, history, detail. I absolutely loved it here. So now we're going to go and get our breakfast, and we're going to go on to the next destination, which is Angkor Thom. I'd highly give a thumbs up for coming this time of year. I can't say from experience what it's like at other times of the year, but compared to other sites here, it's not that bad at all. So basically the end of May, June, I'd say would be perfect. We were walking out and there was a woman who got our attention. She takes photographs of the people and tourists who come in, and we were a bit hesitant at the start, so we gave her a chance and we took some, and then we actually decided we want more, so we went back. So we took a few more, and these are the ones she took here, and it only cost us a few dollars. I'd say the first 3 was like $1 or $2, and then she did us a deal on the second round again, so all in all we only probably $5 or $6. So it's literally after turning 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sunburnt already. Jesus Christ. We're about to enter through Tonle gate into Angkor Thom now, and you can see either side of the bridge here it has demons to our right and angels to the left. So we would have come across these in the Angkor Museum yesterday, I think it was, when we were there. So it's nice to kind of come here after seeing the museum, so you can kind of put the pieces together yourself and say, oh, I saw this yesterday, this is where this is, it makes sense now. Really nice. We went to buy a couple of bottles of water there. They were $2 each, but we only had a $100 bill, and they did an absolute scientific investigation of the bill, because here they're very, very picky about the bill. Even if there's a little bit of ink on one, or a slight tear, or something just doesn't look right, or it's not completely perfect, they won't accept it no matter what sort of a bill it is. It's quite unusual really, considering in Europe they don't really care. Like, you can use money that's been sellotaped back together basically, so just something to note. All I can say now is thank God we got the tuk-tuk, because it's getting really warm and the legs already, they're in bits, they're aching. So next stop is Bayon Temple, and I have to say it's spectacular. Been looking to come here for a while, and now it's in front of me. One of the most iconic temples in Angkor is Bayon, where a sea of colossal stone faces serenely smile down from 54 Gothic towers that rise out of the upper terrace. It's believed that the faces are a representation of Alvlokitsavara. I really butchered that, I know, so sorry. When walking around the temples, at least a dozen stone heads will be in view at any given moment, poised profiles contrasted against full faces featuring curving lips and almond-shaped eyes. Placed at varying heights in the towers, their smiling faces peer down at you from every angle, inspiring awe and compliance. When we arrived to Bayon Temple, there were plenty of guides waiting outside for tourists who want to be shown around the premises, and we were very happy to pay about $5 to take this service, though we did feel a little rushed.
We include with the fauna and flora, that is nature and bird or something, everything, to make a good culture.
We got a tour guide there for about an hour. It cost about $5, and he brought us around Braider here, and it was really cool because there's inscriptions the whole way around the perimeter basically describing the daily life of the Khmer people when they lived here. So it was kind of a good eye-opener and a crash course into what they would have done. For example, there's images of them playing poker, there's images of them in conflict with the Champa people, there's images of them dealing with the Chinese, cockfighting, different things. It was gas there as well for a while. The tour guide took my camera and he basically gave a big long spiel about the story here, going into detail, and it was very cool, and he seemed very comfortable with the camera, so it was kind of interesting to listen to him and seeing him enjoying himself shooting the video. So yeah, it's really kind of mysterious here. I don't know if that's the correct word to use, but the fact that all these faces are kind of looking around, looking down on us, kind of feels like it's eyes on you, but it's so impressive. So that's Bayon checked off the list, highly recommended as well, and yeah, if you get a tuk-tuk driver, it takes away a lot of the stress. We are absolutely out on our feet now, I have to say, and it's only 11:30. When you're up at 4 in the morning, it definitely takes the energy out a little bit more than it would normally, but highly recommended Bayon. So Bayon, unbelievable, and now on to the next temple, which is Baphuon, I believe is the name, so it's very close, a couple of minutes and we should be there. The interesting thing about Baphuon Temple here is that at one stage it was the most impressive in all of Angkor. Another point to note is as well that the ground is very soft and that part of it has collapsed into the ground, making it very, very difficult to bring back to the way it was in the 11th century. By the 20th century, this was basically considered to be the biggest jigsaw puzzle in the world when the architects and archaeologists were trying to put it back together. But still, it's extremely impressive. So there's like a couple of swamps either side here. We're walking along a very kind of narrow path you can kind of see beside me, and I wonder was both sides, you know, kind of a canal system here as well. We're definitely elevated up, and this one at its max was nowhere near the height of Angkor Wat, but still I think it was something like 40 meters at its highest, so still impressive, still significant, and even from here, yeah, now it's unbelievable. One thing that's really cool to think about as well, that while we're in the middle of a temple here, we're surrounded by the jungle as well, and you can constantly hear the wildlife there, all the noise. It's so cool to think that there was a thriving city here such a long time ago, and now it's kind of overgrown with jungle, just literally right beside the temple itself. So we came all the way up there now, another steep one. And by God, I'm out of breath. So that was nice there. We kind of bumped into a girl who we met on the bus on the way into Cambodia, and she was very friendly. So it's funny, you never know who you may run into again as you travel throughout the region. Oh wow. It's quite difficult getting up here. It's extremely steep again.
They're all like that.
Yeah, they are all like that. So I hope this one is worth it. So there's signpost there, you can't actually go up to the very tip top, but if you look up there you can see there's almost like 4 window frames that are still intact, and the roof has been, obviously over time it has deteriorated and is now not there at all, but it would have been nice to go up a little bit higher. The views are quite good here. Have a look at this. That's decent. So this temple was definitely worth a visit, but is it better than Bayon and Angkor Wat? Don't think so, but still worth coming to. So I think this will be a good example of the sinking ground that I mentioned earlier. You can see here, it looks like they're just falling in on top of each other in this section. Something that I love about the region here as well is you can just stumble across a group of monkeys. We even saw a guy passing us and 2 little monkeys ran out and basically jumped on top of him, started climbing him, tried to take something out of his bag, but he was loving it. There's plenty of photographers here trying to get pictures of these monkeys, and they're absolutely so friendly, and they're not aggressive at all. So yeah, it's really nice here. The energy levels are depleting extremely fast at the moment. I think we only have a couple of more temples left though, so at least we have that. I think really you need, depending on what you want to do, how deeply you want to dig into the history here, I think 7 days would definitely be a good option. I think we have a 3-day ticket, and I don't think we fully are going to get enough time here and energy to get through it all really in a way that we're happy, but it's definitely an experience to come here. Look, I'm loving it even though I can barely walk. Like you can kind of see here beside me how thick the base layer is here, and I imagine that was the one that started to sink into the ground, meaning that the upper levels of the temple started to fall in on itself. So it's very important obviously that we're seeing that the foundation is in good shape and it uses the proper sort of material, even all the way back like 900 years ago. Wow, this is absolutely epic. The tree here is just basically overgrown part of the temple, and it's an absolute ruin here as well. Now this is 100% what you'd expect to see in a Tomb Raider movie. It is absolutely phenomenal. Have a look here, you can see part of the temple has just been covered with this huge gigantic tree growing over the whole thing, and it's being smothered. Unbelievable. Is it worth coming here? Why do you think that?
Otherworldly.
That's a good way to describe it. Next up is a place called Phimeanakas. Looks like a cool temple from the outside, very impressive. Smaller than the previous ones, but it does look like it goes up steeper, which again means we're going to have a nice stairs to climb again, but it's worth it. So I think the real pronunciation of this place is called Phimeanakas. There are 4 staircases on either side, but you're only allowed access up, I think, the west side. Now that's because it's so steep and dangerous, and it wouldn't make sense to do it on all 4 sides. And I think we're going to try and go up here now. There's 4 lions that basically protect the entrance here, and I think around the other side you have different animals, elephants, quite a decorated structure here. Sadly, looking at it now, the only staircase that's there says do not climb, so we may not be able to access the top of it today. So we only have to follow the rules here, I suppose, but let's see what we feel like when we get there. You never know. There's a bar across the gate, which I think is a strong enough sign that they don't want you to go up. We can admire it from the ground. It is amazing, it is good to look at, and I really do like the sculptures that are on each level. Although some of them now are a bit damaged and missing in some areas, I can only imagine what it would have been like back in the day. So we've been up for about 10 hours now and it's not even 2 o'clock. So we're really starting to feel the pain, and I don't know if we can go on much further because my legs honestly feel like I'm just gonna fall to the floor. Holy shit, have a look at this. So this is Preah Palilay. Now this one is a real interesting one because it doesn't have any inscriptions, it doesn't have any description of the temple itself. Basically the reason for that is because nobody knows really what time period it came from, who built it. And another thing to know is that a lot of people actually skip this site when they're visiting Angkor Wat here. It definitely is worth coming along here. As you can see just from this image, the trees growing out of the side, the mysteriousness about the site itself, and the history, how far it goes back, we don't know, but it's so fascinating. Seriously, if you're visiting Angkor Wat, don't skip Preah Palilay. It is so cool. The area on the ground here is literally covered in stones that were obviously part of the temple centuries ago, I assume, and maybe they're gonna someday try and reconstruct it a bit more, but as of now there's a lot of it on the ground around. But it doesn't take away from the fact how mysterious and how the overgrowth here and the trees are really adding to the whole site itself. Unbelievable. And there's a little temple basically beside Preah Palilay that definitely looks a little bit more modern. It's a little bit more preserved, but yeah, I don't think it's as old as the temple here itself. Maybe sometime along in the future it was added, I would guess that, but it also has some nice inscriptions, nice carvings, really cool. This is absolutely amazing. It makes a good point to look up above. I don't know if you can see much of that, but it's surreal. It's surreal. It's like we're back in time. Cannot believe this. We're not going to find any inscriptions up here, any details about why this was built or who built it. It's just one of Angkor Thom's mysteries. So that was a nice little surprise. Definitely recommend that one. 10 out of 10, just for the pure mysterious element to that. The trees growing out of it were fantastic and mind-blowing, really. Captures the imagination, I would say, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. So don't skip Preah Palilay, that's definitely my advice. As if our first day exploring Angkor Wat couldn't get better, our final stop took us to somewhere extraordinary, and that place is called Phrom, also known as Braider Temple. This temple was built in the late 12th and early 13th centuries by the Khmer Empire and is dedicated to the Buddhist faith. Clearly, what makes Phrom unique is its untouched and overgrown appearance. The temple complex is surrounded by towering trees and dense vegetation, with massive roots intertwining with the ancient stone structures. This combination of nature and architecture creates a mystical and awe-inspiring atmosphere. As you could have guessed, Phrom gained international fame after being featured in the movie Lara Croft Tomb Raider in 2001, hence its nickname. The temple's atmospheric and surreal setting made it a perfect filming location for an adventure film like this. The conservation efforts at Phrom aim to maintain its delicate balance between nature and ruins. And unlike other temples in the Angkor complex, Phrom has been left partially unrestored, preserving its original appearance and showcasing the power of nature, reclaiming the man-made structures. It took 500 years for this civilization to reach its peak, but it ended up deserted. You might ask, why would this happen? It was conflict with the Chams, the modern day Vietnamese, which was typical for a conflict to happen between the two parties, but more importantly, deforestation and threats by conflict from Thailand also played a big part. The soldiers weren't prepared and didn't have a conflict strategy or the discipline, and basically ended up being sacked in 1431 by the Thais. That's why it is the way it is today, and later on the capital moved further east to Phnom Penh to obviously avoid further conflict with the Thai people. It's really a fascinating history, I have to say. We're pretty exhausted now, to be fair. We did a lot today, we saw loads of great sights. I'm really happy with what we got to see, but possibly maybe we should have opted for the 7-day ticket and take things a bit more slowly, because in this heat it's definitely starting to take its toll. I don't honestly know if I could go on for much longer, but that's just a consideration that we have from my experience here. So I hope that video will kind of show you what Angkor Wat is like. It is absolutely mind-blowing, I have to say. It's one of the best sites I've ever been to, if not the best. And yeah, if anyone's thinking about coming, I definitely say do. Just make sure you're prepared to do a lot of walking. It is a huge monstrosity of a site, but absolutely, I can't wait to go for our second day tomorrow and then our final day on Friday to explore more. Jesus, I honestly don't know if I'm going to make it out. look, obviously Angkor Wat is world famous, and I had questions about how good this place is to visit and if it is actually worth it, and I can say that's a resounding yes. To be able to almost transport back in time and learn about the Khmer Empire and to simply see the architecture in person has really left a mark on me. And I have to say, travel can be a moving and educational experience, and this certainly has ticked both of those boxes. Once again, if you enjoyed the video, do give it a like, leave a comment and subscribe if you didn't already, and you'll be notified of any future videos that are uploaded. And we are planning plenty of more trips and adventures, so why not come along for the journey with us? Thanks a million people, and we will see you in the next one. Cheers!